Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Pirate's Corner. I'm your host, Rixx Javix, your friendly neighborhood pirate, space pirate. So, I have to admit that this one might be a little short. We'll see how it goes because it's been a busy weekend. I not only been working on videos all weekend, but thrown into the mix was a special project I was helping my wife with. She's entering a Microsoft hackathon, and for those of you that don't know or don't care or whatever, I'm going to tell you anyway. My wife works as a SharePoint consultant for a international consultancy and does a lot of really great SharePoint work with Copilot and teaching clients and migrating data and doing all kinds of technical stuff that I really don't understand. But over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years of listening to her doing presentations and talking to clients, I've come to be somewhat of a little bit of an expert on it, to be honest. It's pretty exciting stuff. So I've been helping her for the last few weeks on this project where we created a use case using SharePoint and Copilot. It's pretty exciting stuff. And I just finished up that project for her, loaded it up as an unlisted video on my YouTube channel. You won't be able to see it. The link is only there for entering the hackathon. So I've been working on that almost all day today, and I have a couple of other video projects that are in the works that I'm excited about. A couple that are very exciting. One of which is extremely time consuming and I've been working on, for about 3 weeks now, maybe a month if you add in all the thinking time and planning time. So I'm pretty excited about that one. That one's going to be, I don't know when it'll be released. I'm working on it when I can. So let's just get to Pirate's Corner. It's this week. I'm challenging myself to do this every week, and I'm a little tired right now, so bear with me. Tonight's subject is Honor Among Thieves. And we don't talk about honor a whole lot. I know I already did a Pirate's Corner about the pirate code, and we talked about that. We talked about what that means for Eve in general, having a code to stand by. Lots of corporations in Eve and alliances stand for something, which is great. Again, just to reiterate, I'm all for it. So do thieves, do pirates, do thieves, do criminals, do the nefarious undercurrent, underbelly of New Eden? Do we have honor among ourselves? And I guess that question is a little bit hard to answer unless we define what honor means and how that works when we are talking about dual personalities. Because in any instance, you're talking about a real person behind the computer and a character in the game. Now, I will tell you that having experienced FanFest and player events hosted here at my home, where we hosted 5 Steel City Eves, and we had Eve players from all over the country and the world here in our home. And we've gone to Amsterdam and Vegas and London, and I've met hundreds and hundreds of Eve players. I can tell you that meeting them in real life, with a few minor exceptions, has been eye-opening. Eve players are a lot alike. We share a lot in common. And the great thing is when you start talking about Eve, no matter who you are, you're a stranger, you've never met before, but once you start talking about Eve, everybody gets excited and we all have some common ground, right, to talk about. So in the game, however, it's a little different because we are separated a little bit from local chat, from other things. And we all have an axe to grind or a point that we're trying to make or a play style that we're trying to advocate for. And some of those play styles cross paths. And let's put it very mildly, sometimes we are at cross purposes. You're trying to do something. I'm trying to do something. And sometimes those two things are not aligned. And that's where conflict comes from, right? And we can talk about that later. That's actually a topic that I want to talk about down the road is conflict. But right now I'm focused on honor. So I'm going to give you a great story that just happened recently and show you how honor can come in many different forms, from horrible tragedy to opportunity. And this is a true story, just happened recently. As you know, as I explained in a recent Pirates Corner, if you're keeping up, we are going to be hosting the 12th annual Frigates Free-for-All on April 11th, Saturday, April 11th from 1600 to 2200. Mark that on your calendars. It's going to be an exciting event. We are in preparation mode. We have been for months now, but it's really getting down to the wire. And we are moving an incredible amount of assets for various reasons this year, which I don't need to get into. Our industrial arm, Lucifer's Hammer, was unable to deliver the full complement of needed ships. And it's not anything that they did wrong. It's just the way real life works with the game. Sometimes people are out for various reasons, all good reasons. And so they did provide a large amount of it, but there's still stuff that we need to purchase or get from other resources and have moved. A lot of modules, some leftover ships. There are donations that have been on hold for over a year. There were some donations made last year, a significant amount of donations actually of frigate hulls that I've had to move from one location to the next. That just didn't happen last year. Those donations have been sitting there and waiting for us to get to them, which we did, and I've moved those. Then we have another complication, which is the addition of insurgencies. So as many of you know, low-sum, low-sec systems are now more prone to insurgencies than they were in the past. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we don't have a stage 5 insurgency going on in Amamaki on Saturday, April 11th, between 1600 and 2200, because that would introduce an unfortunate side effect, which would be warp bubbles. So we've got our fingers crossed. If you're watching this and you work at CCP, help us out. So someone in Lucifer's Hammer was moving 450, let's just call it 450 Incursuses, Tech 1 frigate Incursus, through the Amamaki Gate in a Charon, and with a scout, taking all the necessary precautions. But at that particular moment, they were bushwhacked by members of the Mimitar Fleet Alliance and lost the Charon. Not only did they lose the Charon, but in a moment of panic or misunderstanding, we're not quite sure, but the 450 Incursuses were ejected and also destroyed by smart bombs. So 450 kill mails for Incursuses who, completely unfit, were popping up on our Alliance kill board. That caused some consternation, and we were talking amongst ourselves about it. Not a huge loss. 450 Incursus is not a big deal. So that happens. I mean, it's Eve, right? And but the interesting part is that the people on the other side became aware pretty easily about what was going on and why those frigates were being moved. Now, they reached out to the pilot, and the pilot talked to them, and then I had members of the Alliance reach out to us, and we have a history between each other, not a bad one or anything negative. We bump into each other every once in a while when we taking excursions down to Mimitar space, and I believe we may have even practiced together, yada yada. Anything wrong with that, but they offered to build some frigates for us in Amamaki, so that we wouldn't have to be moved. And I thought that was a great offer. And they would produce them for Jita price, which is fair. And they did also bring up, I wanted to make a point of this because they brought up, hey, we know what you're doing, and we just want to warn you about the insurgencies, and of course we know that. And then they also wanted to say that, even though we know we're not going to stop, doing what we do, so you guys are going to have to be more very careful, which we also knew. And I just wanted to bring that up because I would never ask anyone to stop doing what they do in the game. I think there's been some, over the years, been some misconceptions about that. But that regardless, that's a different topic. Honor Among Thieves, though, but I thought that was a great example of that because they did blow up 450 curses with smart bombs and catch our Charon, and they wanted to make it right. And I sent them a list of some T1 frigates, and they're going to make, I think, 500 of each. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Minotaur Fleet Alliance, and when you're playing in the FFA, know that a small percentage of the ships were provided by them. I think that's fair. That's awesome. And so that's how Honor Among Thieves. Yeah, I think so. That's how it works sometimes. I will tell you this too. When I go out on roams with the Alliance, with the corporation on our weekly roams, or when I'm out by myself, many times I get a lot of intel from other pirates. DMs on Discord or in local chat or emails when things are in the planning stages or someone spotted something happening in another system. And this doesn't have to necessarily be from other pirates. A lot of times industry guys are trying to accomplish some goal or mine or a gas site or whatever, and they will text me when there's somebody nefarious in local who's trying to kill them, and they're like, "Hey Rixx, are you nearby?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm 2 systems over," and they're like, "Well, so and so is trying to mess up our operation or do something horrible. Is there anything you can do about it?" Sometimes I am capable of doing something about it, and sometimes I will pass that along in a lot of public channels in game. A lot of other friends of ours, and I will pass that information along to them as well. So sometimes it goes down through a feed chain, and ends up being something that gets taken care of. So being betrayed, being backstabbed, having a thief in the corporation, those are all the opposite of honor. So anyway, I got off on a tangent there, but I think that it has something to say about the way things work, right? So how do we do this with dual personalities? How do I deal with it? And the way I deal with it is by thinking of Rixx as an extension of my own self. While I am a pirate and I do blow people up and I do often come at cross purposes to other players, I also realize that there's a person behind the computer. There's a person on the other side of the screen, and that I have a lot of respect for. I have never met them probably, and I may never meet them, but I don't want their experience to be horrible. I'm really trying not to do that. I will, let people's pods go, as I've talked about, or reimburse them for their ship loss if I feel that they deserve it, or they are very young. I remember early on in the game, I had saved up. This was back when, ISK is really hard to come by. And early in your career, you don't have the resources necessary to generate your own incomes. And I had put a lot of time and effort into building 3 cormorants, I believe. And we had a special op in the Alliance, and I ended up losing all 3 of those cormorants in a single day. It's the closest I've ever come to quitting the game. And I really did feel that way. I was really debating whether it was crushing. It was crushing defeat, crushing loss. I deserved it. They were horribly fit. They were terrible. I lost them all in a day. And I remember a core mate of ours at the time who I believe was Brazilian. And I don't remember their name now, but I could look it up. But they ended up giving me some ISK for my losses. Probably, 10 times the value of what those losses were. And that made a huge difference in my attitude towards the game. This was very, very early, like 6 months into the game. And it made a huge difference in my EVE career. And I want to be that kind of inspiration or a difference for others as well. I don't want to be the reason. And I'm sure I have been. I'm sure mistakenly I have, exploded somebody's ship at the very, very worst time in their lives at one point or another and been the reason why they quit the game. I hate to think of that. I try not to do that. I try not to be the reason why somebody quits. if they don't deserve it, of course. And but I'm sure I have been. I have to be honest with myself, and I know that I have been close to that many, many times because of the feedback I get shortly after blowing up someone's ship. You can tell that often people are in a difficult spot and they react quite angrily and profanely and with a great deal of passion. Typically, they show themselves to be what they are, and that they need to be treated in a special way as best you can. Because, in the limited amount of opportunity we have to talk in local or in a DM, it's very difficult to turn someone's day around remotely with a remote control. And that's what we're left with. But do the best you can. I do believe that there is honor among thieves. I do believe that there's honor among pirates and criminals in the game. I think we express that honor in different ways. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's all part of the game. It's all part of the play style. It's all part of the goals that we're trying to accomplish. Each of us on a different path, often at cross purposes, often driven by corporate goals, alliance goals, political goals, socio-economic goals, killboard goals, who knows. We can go on and on finding reasons or motives for the way we treat each other. But that's my opinion. I believe that there is, and I think that if you're an honorable person, you find a way to express that within the context of New Eden, and that may be wearing it on your sleeve, like Mike Azaria with the Magic School Bus. Or some of my friends in PSI Rock, or Eve Uni, or Signal Cartel, or Eve Scout, or many, many of the other organizations that reach out and help young players, rookies, or provide a service that you can't find anywhere else. Those are people that I believe are wearing that honor out on their sleeve. They're being obvious about it. And then there's others like ourselves who are doing it in subtle ways, who don't get a lot of platitude for it, or get a lot of admiration or public understanding of what we're doing on a day-to-day basis every single time we log in, talking to people about fits or what they did wrong in combat so that they can get better, and helping them out in that regard. So there's a lot of that going on in the game, behind the scenes stuff. Maybe not be as obvious. But I think that there's a tremendous amount of that. We all love this game, for the most part, most of us do, and want it to succeed and want people to have a good time playing it. And I think that is true of the vast majority of players. I think we often think about the very small minority of very angry, outwardly antagonistic side of Eve. I think that we talk too much about it, and that stems from the very early days of Eve Online, where it was considered a dark and dangerous place, which it is. But maybe the emphasis was a little bit too much on that side of the game back in the early days. And I think that over the last 20 years, that has slowly come to change a little. And I would like to see it continue to do that. Again, that's that. And thank you for joining me again this week on Pirates Corner. I greatly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm really trying to grow the channel. And if you have any thoughts on future subjects, please let me know. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope to see you in space, hopefully alone, in a small ship with some abyssal fits and faction officer fit guns, so that I can blow you up and take those. That would be really great. I need some really nice faction mods for my collection. And seriously, though, take care and fly safe. And I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.